And you are watching another Blewett Blitz film review. He has that ability to, trust me, he definitely does. Just his ability to catch balls outside of his frame, his leaping ability, his ability to hang in the air, his yak ability, it's all there. Lowers his helmet, low man wins, bang, rocks a guy.
Hall running free, Brees Hall inside the 10, he's gonna score!
The corners all do their job. You know, if you look at the picture right here, lock.
3rd and 1. Stevens always drilled. What a great defensive play.
I don't try to Monday morning quarterback any of the reviews I do, and I'll try to be honest with a lot of those things I put up. And you are listening. Actually, I would say listening first, watching/listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz as my light behind me goes out because everything I get is a piece of shit, apparently. But nonetheless, hello to everybody in here. Have a lot to talk about. I think I'm kind of going to run as long as you guys want me to run. I've been doing quite a bit of draft prep. Typically, I go over like one guy at a time, and I did that mostly for Fashanu and Bowers. But I did that for Fashanu and Bowers, even though I got an extra, I think, game or two of each of those that I still have to watch. And then I got into Fuaga, Odunze, and there's another guy who I'm blanking out on. Fashanu. Yeah, hold on. Let me see the guys I freaking have watched so far because I've watched so many that I'm already starting to forget. Okay, Bowers. All the way, almost a full review done on him. I think I'm missing 2 games that I have to watch. Fashanu, I think I have to watch one more game that got uploaded. I've watched 2.5 games of JC Latham, which again, 2.5 games, 2 games is like kind of like, in my opinion, a baseline to maybe start talking about them a little bit. And then I'll watch the final, 10 games of each one of Latham, Fuaga, who I've watched 2 games of, and Odunze, who I've watched 2 games of. I plan on maybe watching Alt just because, getting a little bit of a feel for him. And then I think I'm going to also look at Neighbors at least a little bit, and then maybe do like a full review on the other tackle, Mims. I forgot his first name is, but I still have to watch him. So I've been doing quite a bit of prep and just to be able to speak to you guys about it intelligently, or at least somewhat intelligently. Some of the stuff I said last week is starting to be backed up by, Daniel Jeremiah, who is obviously in NFL circles and he's pretty plugged in with that stuff. And then he had a mock draft come out on, I don't know, I saw on Twitter maybe like 3 or 4 hours ago, and he had Fashanu falling to like 13 or 14, which I told you guys last week at least that I'm not saying that he's not worth the 10th pick or anything like that. I think in certain situations I would look at him at 10, but to say that he's some top 5, top 10 lock, easily the second best tackle, if not the first best tackle, unless I just don't think highly of Alt. I don't see him as that type of player. And to be bold off the jump, and again, grain of salt. People are going to say Michigan. You got to go watch the Michigan game. All this stuff. I am saying again very clearly that 2.5 games in so far. Again, 2.5 games in so far, I'm taking Latham over Fashanu at this point. I also watched Fuaga. I think Fuaga is I think he could be a tackle. He struggles with like lateral mobility and some of those movement skills. So if you're going to have him in zone, if you're going to have him pulling, like he's a good puller because of his angles, but not necessarily because of his quick change of direction on the run. I think he's a better fit at guard. I think he could play tackle, but I think he could be a really, really good guard at the same time. But I could see a team even taking Fuaga over Fashanu depending on their needs. If it's a team who needs a tackle or a guard, hey, you draft the guy who you think is a little bit better of a prospect. You hope he works out at tackle. If he doesn't work out at tackle, then you play him at guard. I'm going to try to multitask here and try to sign into my Fubo while doing this because I want to be able to kind of catch the Devils game as it's going on the stream. So I'm going to do that for 2 seconds while I kind of let the chats round up and tell me why I'm an idiot about Fashanu. But and part of the reason I guess that Fashanu is so hyped up, and obviously I'm just maybe a little bit not naive, but I haven't watched him for his entire collegiate career. But apparently last year he was a little bit better. with Penn State, and that's why he was so highly rated on people's boards. I can tell you that I've personally watched just this year of Fashanu, and to say that he's some top 5, top 10 lock is I don't know where it's coming from, but it is what it is. And people run with the same storylines, and they'll change them, even though they were so high on him just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe not. Maybe they stick to their guns. I think Fashanu could be a good player. I'm just saying I don't think he's some stud at this point, but. Okay, cool. My thing is working. 2 seconds. 391 742. All right, now I can get the doubles in a little bit because they need to win. All right, let's say hello to the chat. Let's talk about some stuff with the chat. I saw somebody in here right off the jump. I think it was, I don't know who it was, but somebody was like, "Is Joe going to kill my dream of Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, and Garrett Wilson as like the 3 leaders of the Jets passing game?" I can tell you right now, to be bold off the jump, since we're being bold off the jump, I'm not touching Bowers at 10. Sorry, I'm not. I think, and Riv could put it in an article, and it's kind of like, maybe it's a shitty comparison because it's not like I watched Mike Gesicki, but he's like a souped, and this is kind of what I said to her, and this is why it was in an article, but like a souped up Mike Gesicki who could block. He's willing to block. He's not an inline guy right now. 6'4", 240. If you're asking him in zone to take a D end on one-on-one in the NFL level, it's not going to happen because it didn't even happen in college. You want him as like an angle blocker, a guy who's going to down block, who's going to combo, who's going to crack a linebacker, who's going to crack a safety, who might even crack a D end if he has favorable positioning and the D end can't see him. Okay, I'm with that. Arc blocking out, on an outside linebacker, a safety if he's leading like a sweep or something like that. Okay, I'm cool with that. But in terms of like some studly prospect, and again, just transparency in terms of like what I thought I was getting before I watched him, I was expecting like Gronkowski, and maybe I was being a little bit too maybe I was being stupid in terms of like thinking about Gronkowski. But he's not an inline guy right now. And if you're drafting him for yak, I think that's kind of a bad reason to draft the guy, because he could break tackles in college, which obviously could translate to the NFL, especially if he does add weight and things like that. But to think that yak's just going to automatically translate, like, I don't know. It's you can't just necessarily make that leap. But I think he'll always be good at yak. But to say he's going to break tackles like he did in that Alabama game is just not necessarily feasible. And on top of that, which I can always show plays and stuff, and it's the benefit of maybe not having a ton of topics to talk about. But Bowers in contested catch situations, I probably saw about maybe 9 or 10 jump ball situations that he had in Georgia this year, and he came down with maybe 2 out of 10. One of them was a really lucky one-handed catch. So, and I can show you the guys those plays, but in terms of his contested catch ability, it's not there. His route running, he's very athletic. Obviously, we know he has top-end speed. Obviously, we know he's smooth out of his breaks and things like that. But in terms of the actual route running abilities, his shoulders come up high before his breaks. His footwork is not great on his breaks. So he's not some polished route runner with elite hands who can go up and get the ball and yak. Like, yak. Yeah, really good athletic ability, but he's not Kyle Pitts. But at the same time, he's a raw route runner. He doesn't go up and get the ball. And then I think his hands are average, in my opinion. I don't think his hands are great. So in terms of him at 10, for a team who has a tight end or two, if you're a team who's lacking, a starting tight end, and you can maybe take a shot at him, sure. Do I think that do I want to take him when you have Conklin and Ruckert in your room? Absolutely not. That's where I'm at right now. So being bold right off the jump, 12 minutes in, I'm telling you my thoughts. This light is so fucking bright. Wow, hold on. Let me just cant that up or something, because it looks like I'm getting hit by the sun. That's a little bit better, I guess. Okay, let's see the chat. And again, if you guys want me to go over plays, I can legitimately just share my entire screen with you guys and then show you. I probably have 6 or 7, maybe 8 of his contested catches, and it's just not there. Again, raw as a route runner, shoulders come up high before his breaks. There's some lack of commitment to stop steps and things like that. So if you're drafting him because he's athletic and gets yak when you already have 2 tight ends, it's not for me. And then again, just to solidify kind of what I said last week, or to reiterate with Fashanu, I think that 2.5 games in, I'm a Latham guy over Fashanu. And then I can even understand Fuaga going over Fashanu in certain situations. So, which I'm kind of glad to see it at least came out this week in Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, in terms of he talks to people, and apparently that's how he does his mock drafts. It's not necessarily what he thinks, but it's what he's hearing from the NFL. And if the NFL is thinking he's at 13, at least I'm somewhat vindicated, at least this week. A lot can change. in the next couple of games. I could watch JC Latham versus Michigan and be like, dude, this guy sucks. Obviously, 2.5 games is an extremely small sample size, and that's why I want to kind of mention that, because my opinions can change. If I was 5-6 games in, I would feel more confident in where I stand on Latham, but 2.5 games in, I'm more impressed with him than I was with Fashanu. 2.5 games in. 2.5 games into Fuaga, I am probably in the same bucket as Fashanu. I'm definitely disappointed in his lack of mobility overall, in terms of an open space. In terms of Fuaga, Fuaga in short areas, or in short areas is a lot more explosive, and obviously as a guard you're going to be in more short areas, you're going to be contacted quickly, but you actually go on islands and speed rushes and things like that. They're going to be able to cross his face, even if he has good footwork and he's able to and he kind of anticipates it coming. His lack of lateral mobility concerns me out of tackle. So I think he could be a pretty damn good guard, but if the Jets were to take him and then you see if he works out, you kind of flex ABT out. If it doesn't work out, again, I don't necessarily love that plan, but nonetheless, let's get into the chat. Eagle Fang says, I think as the days go by, I think the Jets draft O-line in the draft no matter what, but I'm not sleeping on Brock from Georgia. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to be just straight up, and maybe I have to watch another year of Brock Bowers, but he's no Kyle Pitts. That's for damn sure. I watched him games of Kyle Pitts in passing. I was like, dude, this guy is a freak. Brock Bowers plays hard. He blocks hard as hell. He's fast. His acceleration is legit. But he's like a wide receiver, tight end hybrid, a guy who could not play in line again. So he's more of a weapon, but an overhyped one in my opinion. I think if he came down with more contested catches, and I had faith in that, and then I also saw that with some really crisp route running, that I'm like, okay, I get it, because he's a bigger receiver, but he also offers some of the flexibility with tight end, like crack blocking, some of those things, not necessarily in line, but the route running and the contested catch abilities really disappointed me, to be frank. When I'm watching guys and I find myself shaking my head, I'm like, okay, that's not a good sign, because it just comes natural. Like, okay, 1, 2, 3 contested catches, doesn't come down. Maybe luck of the draw, 4, 5, 6, 7 come, and I'm like, dude, the contested catches are not there for me. So yeah, I'm not doing the Brock from Georgia thing. So OG Blewett Blitzers, what's good, or whatever the kids are saying these days. Yeah, we got some OGs, which, by the way, I appreciate you guys. I kind of bitched about being at 8.97, and I'm now at 8.99, so I'm within 10 or so from getting to 9,000, and the push is on to 10. The push is on to 10. Hopefully the draft can help me out with that, or maybe not, because people are going to be like, oh, I love Brock Bowers from highlights. I'm going to click off of this, downvote, unsubscribe. Potentially, that should happen. But keep going up in the chat. I'm curious about the mid-late round quarterbacks in this draft. Yeah, I don't know about the quarterbacks, and even with the quarterbacks, I'm willing to draft a guy in maybe the 4th round. I'd prefer 5th or 7th. I think the Jets don't have a 6th, or they don't have I forget what picks. Maybe the 6th, they don't have a 6th. I don't want to take a quarterback in the 3rd round. I think in the 3rd round on this team, you might be able to still find an impact player. Let's say they do draft. Let's just say it is Fashanu at 10. If you are to add, let's just live in fairy tale land here, and we get nothing too crazy. We get Calvin Ridley. Do I think they can add a 3rd round receiver who could usurp or be better than a Alan Lazard in the 3rd round? I do. Do I think you can you could draft a running back there who would actually make a legitimate impact in the 3rd round? I do. Do I think you can draft maybe a safety there of legitimate impact? I do. A D tackle? I do. So do I want a quarterback that early? No. I'm going to say 3rd round, probably off the table for me, unless it's a guy really falls. 4th round, I consider it, but I consider it more 5th round, because even in the 4th round, you can find some players who are going to contribute. Obviously, dependent, variance upon GM to GM in terms of how much faith you have in them. But nonetheless, we need to hear about Fashanu versus Fuaga. Yeah, I talked about it a little bit. Again, I think Fashanu, I'm not even saying he's a bad prospect, so I don't want people to put it out there like, oh, Blewett thinks he's a terrible prospect. That's not it. I'm saying he does not deserve the hype that he was getting in terms of top 10 lock. No way he's going to fall to the Jets, because I said it last week. If I just had it in a vacuum, right, last week, that he's on the board, you can take him, I'm not signing the dotted line for that right now. I'm not. So, hey, Joe, any work on receivers yet? Yeah, I did Odunze. I might do Neighbors again a little bit. Odunze, I'm really interested. I'm going to go back after this stream. I'm going to finish that game of Latham, and then I'm going to watch another game of Odunze as well, because I'm only 2 games in. Really good body control. He's more smooth than fast. I saw some people saying that he's a deep threat. I don't think he's a. I think he's a deep threat if you're talking about, okay, he's pretty smooth and he can win contested catch situations. But if you think he's running a 4.3, you're wrong. I would imagine he's in the mid 4.4s, maybe high 4.4s, even low 4.5s. But again, he's pretty smooth. He's able to catch balls outside of his frame. I think his catching ability or his catching technique's actually really good. He runs hard for yak. I think he sets up his catches pretty well in terms of yak. Like back breaking route. Okay, the DB is breaking on an inside angle. But he's a little bit high. Okay, I'm going to cut to the inside, but kind of jab him outside first, so he kind of falls for it and hit back to the inside. So I like his yak ability. I like his ability to catch the ball outside of his frame. His jump ball ability. He had 2 drops in his second game that were focus drops, wide open. He tried to catch it with his body in one, and the other one he looked to run before he caught the ball. I'm a little bit indifferent on him. I think he may be worth a 10 pick, but again, I'm not solidified in that. I still want to see a lot more from Odunze. I want to see more, and this is kind of goes with Bowers too. I want to see Odunze separate more than he has. I want to see him in more press situations. That I want to evaluate his press situations, and same thing with Bowers. I saw little to no press reps against him, which will happen in the NFL. He will get pressed, and I didn't see it a lot at Georgia. So it's a thing that you have to put in your evaluation. Something you don't know about. If I don't see the press, him versus press, I don't know how he is versus press. I think he's good at like secondary releases in terms of in secondary releases. Okay, he's not in press, but he's like 5 to 10 yards off. That's more of a secondary release. I think he's good in those situations, but press for secondary releases are completely different things. So that's a question for Bowers with me as well. But yeah, I watched Odunze, and then I watched Neighbors a little bit. If I watch him and he's like a stud right off the bat, I'm like, okay, he's definitely better than Odunze. I probably won't continue to watch him. Maybe I'll do like a short review, 3 or 4 games on him. And then past that, right, there's really nobody. Like everything I've heard about Coleman is he's not going to be worth the 10th pick. So I think I'm going to add Alt just in case. Maybe do a shorter one on Alt. Might do a shorter one on Neighbors. And I think the guy who I'm going to add to the list that I've done is Mims. And past that, you'll have a lot of those reviews that will come out before the draft. I'll be prepping them in the next month or so. And then past that, I'm going to do what 7 reviews of Jets players I said I was going to do. I forget. I messaged it. I'm going to also do Tony Adams because we got to know what he is at free safety and how confident we feel in that. I want to do Will McDonald probably before free agency hits, just because how impressive was he in his limited reps. I want to do JJ. I'm going to do Quincy. I want to do Garrett Wilson, Sauce, and maybe Conklin are some of the players I'm going to do. So you can look forward to those. Probably I'll start prepping now, but probably be releasing them in the summer. So okay, rambling a lot. Let's keep going in. How does Bowers look? I'm just going to do. Fuck it. I'm just going to go. I'm not. This is not me breaking it down because I'm not doing that right now. My head actually. I'm a little bit under the weather. Not really, but. Let's see. I'm going to share my entire screen with you guys, and I'm not going to even break it down. I'm just gonna pull up. Which, by the way, here you can see some of the stuff I'm working on with some of these guys, which my notes aren't necessarily done with all of these. So, but nonetheless, let me pull up some of the Bowers plays I was talking about. And I'm not going to even break it down. I'm just going to pull up. I'm going to pull up stuff. Bad tracking. Oh, yeah, that's another thing that I was a little bit concerned about with Bowers is his tracking the ball. When he's open in the seam or he's open vertically, he looks back for the ball and he slows down quite a bit. And he missed at least 1 or 2 passes because he gears down when he's tracking the ball. So stiff arm, pull himself through, stack bam. Okay, no contested. Let's see. No contested. We have him. And again, evaluate for yourself. I'm not even breaking it down now. I'm going to do the entire breakdown in an actual film breakdown show. I'm just showing you guys evidence because the bad thing about it is you read scouting reports, you look at highlight films. Highlight films are never going to show miscontested catches. He's on the bottom right here. Okay. There's one. Another one. Let's watch. He's top slot right there, or yeah, he's in the slot right here, I believe. Yeah, he's in the slot right there. Let's watch another contested catch. Dropped it. Okay. lack tracking. That's the thing I was talking about. There's another thing I don't like about it, and I saw this at least once or twice with him, and this is something that you'll get yelled at in high school for. If two hands are available, go up with two hands. If you only can have one hand, it's a great catch, awesome. When two hands are available, we need to go up with two. He's in the slot right here to the bottom. This is contested. This is one of the ones that I saw that was like, thought it was a little bit lucky. Yeah, can you replicate this every time? You're throwing to your back shoulder and reach out with one hand and snag it like that. Sure, maybe you can. I wouldn't necessarily bank on it. So okay, that's a cool one. Let me go to some of the other contested. This one I said it was either contested or he was either one, he couldn't get his other hand up because he's being passed interfered with, or two, he was able to get it up, but he didn't go for it. That's another one, contested. Okay, wasn't able to bring it in. All right, let's go with another one. Not in line. Let's just watch what this one is. He's in line right here to the left side of your screen. Okay. So do we want him there in the NFL level? Probably not at this point, and there's more of that in here, I'm sure. Block effort, no contested. Okay, let's watch another one, no contested. So there's probably actually 4 or 5 I actually have in here, right? Maybe it's 6. He's in the backfield right here. He's in the backfield. Wheel. Another one, no contested. So, you have a guy who struggles at that, and I'm not saying like some of the plays were good plays by the defenders, etc. But just to, trying to prove my point a little bit. So let me get back to the chat after I showed that, just because I wanted to kind of maybe show it before we really start to talk about it. Rob D says, "What's up, guys? Biggest advice I have that people never follow: if 2 players on different tiers, take the better player. If 2 players are on the same tier, take position." Yeah, you want to draft best player available out of position of need. That's kind of what I go at. And like you said, now the Jets might force themselves into a hole here if in terms of the draft, because let's say you do sign 2 tackles, right? Whoever they may be. Let's say you get lucky enough, you sign Tyron Smith. The other tackle's going to win. Holy shit, the Jets just got Tyron Smith and a winner. Awesome. Let's say that they have Fashanu at an A-, but they have a Dunze at a B. Do you take the A- and he's a backup this year, or do you take the B, the B or the B+? So it kind of depends on the situation. But anyway, Jet super fan, what's up, Joe? I think we need to fix the O-line in free agency and draft the best offensive player at 10 or trade down. Thoughts? Yeah, it's just dependent on, can you fix the offensive line in free agency? I think that's obviously the plan is you want to go into the draft with the most flexibility, and fixing the offensive line in free agency is your way to do that. But is that realistic? You're looking at Owenu as probably one of the better tackles available. Jonah Williams, one of the better tackles available. Tyron Smith, but he's been playing about 10 games per the last 3 seasons. So do you want to add another injured type guy to a team who's already facing a ton of injuries? I don't know. With that being said, if you can do that, then yeah, great. Take the best player. Take freaking Fuaga. And cut Laken Tomlinson, and put him at left guard or right guard and move AVT back to left guard or whatever it may be. But it's really dependent on free agency. I think the plan is to obviously do that, but I think it's a little bit easier said than done. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping they add at least one, mid-tier, tackle. So we'll see. You have to like Fashanu over Neal at least. Oh yeah, no. And what I'm telling you, Daniel, is Neal that year. Realistically, I wouldn't have I probably would have drafted him the 3rd or 4th round. Really. I'm not even kidding. That's not me just saying that because now he sucks and I can dunk on him. I put up threads on Twitter. I don't get it at all with this guy. Fashanu has some of the same. One of my problems with Fashanu too is he doesn't have that nasty. And when offensive linemen don't have the nasty, it really kind of turns me off. But there's some times where he could have finished guys, where guys are at his feet and he just doesn't do it. His run blocking needs a lot of work. If you're talking about a zone play, him one-on-one with a D end, I'm not very confident in that situation. If we're talking about more angle blocking where he can get advantageous angles and work with guys on combos and things like that, I think he fits better in that system as of now. But you see a lot of him stalling his feet, scooping from low, never rolling his hips, getting his chest controlled. I have plays of him getting stood up by linebackers at the collegiate level, which is a little bit discouraging. And then on top of that, actually, I don't know what I was going to say, but if he's getting stood up versus linebackers if he's getting stood up versus linebackers in the collegiate level, what's going to happen in the NFL? So definitely concerning in terms of the run blocking. The run blocking is pretty piss poor. I'm not going to say it's as bad as Neal's was, but it's still not great. And then I remember the point I was going to bring up again. I forgot with Fashanu. Yeah, I forgot. It left me. It'll come back in terms of Fashanu and what I was going to say about him in his game. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Typically, like when you watch players, one of the things that I really like to see, and it's like one of the check marks that I put down and I'll make an actual checklist, but you want to see players dominate lesser competition. So when I watched him versus Rutgers and like some other smaller schools, I'm like, okay, I really want to see him shit on these fellas, and he didn't. So that's also a red flag to me that he doesn't necessarily dominate lesser competition. So again, I think he's a guy who could work out eventually. Do I think he's gonna be a stud in year 1, year 2? Maybe not. But again, I'm gonna go back and even watch another game or two of him that I have to do. And maybe I was a little bit low on him. Maybe my expectations were too high. And now that I've watched Fuaga and Latham and I'll watch Mims, maybe my expectations level out, and maybe I think he is the best tackle out of those guys. I don't think so, but we'll see. Joe would like me over yeah. Evan Neal, it's just that was a bad one. I don't get drafting in the top 10. Joe Douglas will draft best available football player last year. McDonald and Mayer was next, so don't be surprised if he drafts Bowers. Yeah, I don't think Bowers is going to be necessarily the best player. I don't, and I'd have to watch 10 other players and really formulate a list of who's the best player available. But I'm not signing the dotted line right now in terms of Bowers being a top 10 guy in this draft. Even if the Jets, and again, a lot of the conversation kind of stems around the fact that the Jets don't necessarily need a tight end, so he's like really kind of off the board for me. Even if they did need a tight end, like let's say they didn't have Rucker and it was just Conklin and a bunch of nobodies, I'm not even completely sold that I would take him in that situation. I don't love him as much as other people do because yak and effort and all that stuff. Like effort is translatable, but if you can't win contested catches in college and you can't necessarily block at an inline level in college, it just gets harder in the NFL. So yeah, he may develop into a good player, but I think he needs to add 10, 15 pounds, at least, 240 in terms of being an inline blocking tight end. It's just not going to happen right off the jump. So Latham is getting a bad rep because of the playoff game. I watched a few of his games and he looked like a good prospect. Yeah, exactly. A beloved piece. That's the only thing I hear is I put up like a Latham play and it's, oh, watch him versus Michigan. Oh, watch him versus Michigan. Oh, watch him versus Michigan. Okay. And again, this is not necessarily 1-for-1, but is CJ Stroud, is he a bad player because he sucked versus the Jets or didn't have a good game versus the Jets? Like we can't take such a small sample size and make that his overall, your overall thoughts on the player. And I know that the last play of the game, he got blown up and I'll watch exactly why. It looked like he was a little bit passive on that play. I wanted to see him take the fight a little bit more to that DN, but I'll actually get into the tape and really, really break it down. But one game doesn't make a guy, again, CJ Stroud then sucks because the Jets game, he was not good and they didn't produce anything on offense. Mahomes wasn't great versus the Jets. He sucks now. Okay, like it's just stupid to do that. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's very dumb. That's the only thing you hear about Latham is Michigan. Okay, well, what about the other 10 games of the season? What about the games I watched? The games I watched so far are Middle Tennessee, Texas, and I'm on South Florida. I have Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, Chattanooga, Auburn, Georgia, and Michigan to still watch. So my opinion can completely change. I can say this guy sucks. Right now, again, I'm more impressed with him than I am with Fashanu early on. How do we feel about our DC going to be one of the coaches in the combine? Says Eagle thing. It's a good thing, right? It's never a bad thing. It gets them exposure in terms of just working with other coaching staffs, making a few more connections, and then obviously it's beneficial. Like the Jets had their studly 2022 draft, which might go down as legitimately the best draft of all time, and you get to know the players better. You could interview these guys and you could watch their tape. There's nothing like practicing with these guys for a week. You get to see who they really are. It's hard to hide who you are in a week of practice, especially if you're going through the dog days. So I think it's great. Last time we drafted some good players. So I don't know, Joe. I think Fashanu reminds me of Rashawn Slater, Chargers, but why? Like, why? It's like, again, like, I think that's relatively easy to say, but why exactly? One of my things with Fashanu too is like his typically what he does is he'll if he obviously he's the left tackle, he throws his right hand, and his right hand ends up being like a really soft punch, and he just tries to kind of tap you with it, and then he catches you with his left hand. So it looks really nice, like tap with the right, catch with the left. The problem was a few times on film, guys would time the right to the left, and then his chest would be open, and then people would bull rush the shit at him, and he'd end up on his ass. So he has a really good pass set. That should be his go-to pass set. But I also want to see more outside punches. I want to see just more strong inside punches and kind of like instead of like a feel it out inside punch. I want to see more variety to that pass set because yeah, he has like his go-to. But if you only have one go-to in the NFL level, you're gonna get shit on. And I saw too much of him doing the same thing, and then some guys taking advantage of it. If you could time that inside punch, swipe that, and then take his chest when he's trying to catch you with his left, because his left's not coming from a strong angle. It's not coming into the outer pec. It's not at a strong elbow angle. It's more of like a half moon punch, so like a scoop, and it's not very strong. So he catches guys more than he like dictates. And if you're catching versus dictating at the NFL level, again, it might not always work out, especially when you're lacking strength. Just from college to NFL, everybody in general, minus guys like Fuaga and Latham and Becton and those type of freaks who come in. But Fashanu's not going to be some physically dominant player in terms of his physicality and his strength versus NFL lineman or NFL D lineman at this point. He has to build up his strength at this point. So Rob D says could help getting a day 3 D tackle or linebacker. You could see a day 2 D tackle realistically because the Jets, we're assuming that they're going to address tackle and receiver early on in the draft and early on in free agency. Your next biggest needs are starting strong safety, defensive tackle, running back too. So I can easily see the Jets taking not even a day 3 defensive tackle. I can see them taking a round 3 defensive tackle, a round 4 safety. Like that's possible. And then, like I said, I think they also need I think those are probably like the biggest like secondary needs the Jets have, right? Are I would say safety. Strong safety, probably number 1. I would probably say number 2 is defensive tackle next to Q. You need another guy in there. I'm hoping it's Quentin Jefferson. Then you sign some run stuffer. But right now, that's a pretty big hole next to Quentin Williams. And then past that, you need a running back too on the Jets. So those are probably like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th needs on the Jets. And then obviously 1 and 2 being offensive line and receiver. So, by the way, too, maybe I got to change like the input or whatever, but I changed some shit around my camera. Ryan helped me, and I don't think it's on cutout now. I think the picture might look a little different. I don't know. It's like very bright in here. I look like I'm albino. I don't know. Maybe I am. It's winter, so I'm not going outside a lot. Rivka's article was good. Yeah, she referenced me a little bit in there. I didn't necessarily know it was me quoted. Like I just for the people of the website, Rivka, Nanya, Sabo, like I'll message Ryan, I'll message Scott, like I'll give them some of my thoughts on draft prospects. I didn't necessarily know it was going to go into an article, but nonetheless, souped up Mike Gesicki went out there on our website, which if I is that the best comparison? That was kind of more like a passive comparison, but similar kind of feel, like a guy who he's more willing to block than Gesicki. He probably has better yak than Gesicki. Gesicki might actually be better than him in terms of contested catches at this point, even though, truthfully, I don't remember how good he was in contested catch situations, but Bowers is not good at that point right now. So defensive tackle at 10, yeah. Shit, you're late? Yeah, shit, you're late. I got to change, hold on. I might cut out for a second. All right, my Wi-Fi is being sketchy. I changed it from my Wi-Fi extenders to my Wi-Fi, then it starts not to work. So I'm on my Wi-Fi extenders right now. So Wi-Fi is one of the harder things to figure out. It's just a pain in the ass. I gotta get like a hardwired connection or something like that. Okay, Aldo Fushano at 10. Nope, I'm not signing the dot. I can't click on your guys' chats right now, so something's going wrong with my side of this. Okay, hold on. I might be back in a second. Okay. Should be good now. Hold on, see if I can. Okay, I pull up chats. It wasn't letting me pull up chats for a second. So I screwed up something on my computer. I'm not the best with technology, as we know. So let me go back up to the top. Oh, Sean with 10. Yeah, I did that. You're coming in very grainy. Hmm. Yeah, I gotta play around with the inputs and stuff like that. But I can see like little dots and stuff behind me. Sober Joe looks younger. I don't kind of. I feel like I come on here probably like once or twice a year and like have some beers with you guys, but nonetheless, it's not really. It's not a lot. And January is a completely sober month for me, nonetheless. So good evening to you, Meatball Parm. Uniform changes look like it's coming. The current jerseys are heavily discounted in the shops right now. Yeah, I saw that. I think NYJ Matt maybe put that out there that the jerseys were for sale. The regular jerseys. I think it's all but written, or it's all but just out there that the Jets are going to go back to the retros, the white, the green, and I think they do some type of alternate black with those because it seems like fans like the blacks. So if you could have the throwbacks with some type of black incorporated with it, maybe even just make it straight black, that'd be pretty cool. So I'm excited. Camera looks horrible. Yeah, let me see real quick. I'm gonna try to play with my settings a little bit on my side. Full definition. If I go high definition, maybe it looks better. It's a little bit lower quality though. It still looks like it's grainy. Standard definition. Still grainy, right? I could touch up my appearance and make me look like I'm like a. No, I don't know. Yeah, I gotta play around with it, guys. I've played around a little bit with the camera and stuff, but I gotta figure it out clearly. So I'm coming in grainy, but as long as you can hear me, it's all good. You don't really need to look at much. I've heard some people compare Fuaga to Sewell, Wirfs, and Darnell Wright. Do you agree with this comparison? I don't. I think Sewell was a guy who was supposed to be a tackle. I think Wirfs was a guy who is a lot more athletic than Fuaga ever is. Wirfs was considered to potentially be a guard because of, I believe, arm length, right? Not necessarily lack of athleticism, because Wirfs is actually very athletic. Fuaga is a monster. If he's down blocking you, you're kind of fucked. He's super, super strong. So him and Wirfs are definitely different in terms of prospects, because Wirfs is much more athletic than Fuaga in terms of his movement ability. And then Darnell Wright was, he's a more of a plotting tackle. Darnell Wright is closer to Latham than he is to Fuaga to me. So I don't agree with those. And in general, I hate player comparisons. I really do, because I don't think any player is a good comparison for another one. I don't see them ever as viable. I don't. Draft Bowers, period. If we get a wide receiver, yeah, I'm not. But because of why? Because of Yak. Because that's the only thing I saw in terms of like weapons. I was like, holy shit, like that's really, really important. Or that was really, really impressive, because he's not a great route runner at this point. Yeah, he's fast, but cool, he's fast. So the route running, contested catch ability, and the catching ability in general are not necessarily up to snuff. So I don't think he's some studly weapon at this point, And I'll watch Neighbors and I'll watch Dunze, but I might even have a Dunze over him. So we'll see. In terms of for the Jets, there's differences between Jets big board and my big board. So we'll see. Harlan says, okay, got here closer to the start. Blewett Blitz. What's up, Harlan? Eagle Fang says, I like Kincaid over Meyer last year. I also like Flowers and Gibbs and all our major players for their teams. What I was wrong with was JSN. The thing about it is, with a lot of player evaluations, like it's so, part of it's the actual player evaluation, but part of it's how they're used, part of it's where they go, part of it's how the coaching staff develops them. So it's not like you see Sam Darnold, in the rookie class with Josh Allen, with Lamar Jackson, with whoever else. I'm blanking on who else was. There's another Baker Mayfield. There's some players in there who obviously worked out. Or, yeah, Josh Allen, Lamar, and there's another one I might be missing. But let's say Sam Darnold went to the Bills. Sam Darnold went to the Ravens. Is he the same player? Probably not. So it fit, and the team you go to in their development is also a large part of it as well. So. Yeah, JD has been known to find good players in the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. Yeah, I would say he's solid in the mid rounds. Solid. I'm not going to say he's a stud or anything like that yet, but I heard Dunze ran in the low. Yeah, I doubt that. I really do. Yeah, I doubt that. I would say low 4.4s to mid 4.4s. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say like a 4.45. 4.44 right now. Sometimes it's hard to tell on tape. But low 4.3s, I don't see that at all. I don't see that at all. It was fun watching McCole Hardman not catch a bomb from Mahomes last week. I'm excited for the playoff football this week. I don't know who you guys are rooting for. I was rooting for the Lions. Hold on. I was rooting for the Lions, but it seems like they're a little bit too cocky for my liking. So I'm rooting for the Texans and the Lions, I guess, in the NFC, but they're starting to talk a little bit too much for me for guys who haven't been there like ever. Nonetheless, I'm still hoping for a Lions Texans Super Bowl. Do I think it's obviously it's probably not going to be that? I would say if I had to guess now, it's probably going to be Ravens Niners. But either way, there's some good football this week. Even the Bucks and the Lions game right now. You have Baker Mayfield coming out there. I think Gardner Johnson was saying something about them not being good. Whatever he was saying, Gardner Johnson always yaps a lot. And then Baker was like, yeah, he mentioned a player who hasn't played since like week 5, so you better like turn on the tape. So it's gonna be an interesting game. The Bucks have their championships and stuff, but Baker's like I didn't like him coming out at all with Cleveland or anything like that, but like his arc, like his redemption arc is kind of appealing to me a little bit. I find myself rooting for them a little bit at times. And with the Lions being a little bit maybe over their skis in terms of cockiness, I'm kind of indifferent to that game. Whoever wins it, but we'll see. Okay, let's see. Did you see Dalvin Cook's? I did not. I couldn't care. I couldn't care less about what Dalvin Cook says, even though I guess I would like to know if he's like shit on the Jets coaches and things like that. But he's a scrub, man. He's just so bad. He's just so bad. Rob Joe. So right now you take a Dunze over Latham, or are they? Right now you would take a Dunze. No. If you think that's what I was saying, no. I'm taking again 2 games in. I will preface it 2 games into each. I'm taking Latham over Dunze right now. I'm saying Dunze may be in consideration. I didn't watch him and was like, no way, he's picked 10. But I also didn't watch him and say, oh yeah, he's a slam dunk at 10. 2 games in, I don't feel like I have enough to really talk about Dunze intelligently enough in terms of like where I think he falls in my final rankings and thoughts on him. I'll probably in terms of like the guys I've done in prior years, I would have Garrett Wilson higher than him. Garrett Wilson just much better of an athlete, much more explosive. Drake London I would have over Odunze, even just a few games in. Drake London was pretty apparent right away for me that I like the player. But it depends on the class. It depends on the class, and I still have some guys to watch. But right now, gun to my head, it's Latham over Odunze. Come on, people. There are 58 watchers and only 13 likes. Yeah. Get me 10 more. Get me 10 more by the end of this. That'd be nice. Even though I don't know, we're gonna like text your mom to subscribe. But yeah, getting to 9 would be nice. 10's the big goal, but 9 is nice because I've been floating like 8, 9 for forever at this point. Wild Wave. The more the days go by, the more it looks like the Jets are taking a weapon at 10. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Based on like what? Because Neighbors is probably gone, right? And then if you're talking about weapon, Odunze, Bowers, I don't think either are slam dunk picks at 10 at this point. I would take Latham over both of those again early into it because I don't want to be. Oh, Joe loves him and he said he's a top 5 guy. That's not what I'm saying. Right now, early, I'm taking Latham over those guys. And then past that, I might even take hey. No other knowledge about what happens in free agency, what happens, rest of the draft, whatever. Fuaga versus Bowers. Who are you taking at 10? Fuaga. Give me Fuaga. I'm not taking Bowers. It's just not for me. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player. I think he could be a really good player, but I think he needs to develop. And if you're comparing him to Travis Kelce in terms of route running, and he's a George Kittle in terms of yak, and he contested catch, it's just not what he is at this point. He's more of like a big receiver who's willing to get nasty in the run game. Who's raw at route running. It's kind of what I see right now in him. But he's really good with yak. Really, really good with yak. Again, different at the NFL level. They tackle a little bit differently at the NFL level. So how many tackles do you squirt out of at this level? I don't know. With that example, take the B. I think the Jets would prefer going the veteran route to protect Rodgers in free agency. Yeah, sure. Again, but there's 31 other teams vying for these guys' services. And when Tyron Smith, Jonah Williams are going to be the top 3 guys, or probably the top 3 guys. Maybe there's another guy in there. Maybe Trent Brown, whatever. But there's 31 other teams. There's plenty of other teams with less state taxes than the Jets. There's other teams with no state taxes. There are teams with offensive line coaches who people like. Players talk, and maybe it's just a thing where, hey, Becton, not necessarily the most stable of mind. Okay, fine. Taylor Lewan, not necessarily the most stable of mind. Okay, maybe they just hate Keith Carter. But then why is Adam Pankey liking it? Why is Tristan Colon liking it? Why is Brees Hall quoting it and laughing about it? So you have a team where it's been dysfunctional, or it's been a shit show for 20 years. We're one of the most losing franchise of the last 20 years, or whatever it is. We haven't made the playoffs in 13 years. You have a coach who people hate, and you have a shit ton of taxes. Come here, So yeah, I would love to get one of those guys. Do we get them? I'm not sure. I don't know. Nobody knows. So I'm sure they prefer to do that. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Screen cap is extremely choppy, basically watching a slideshow. Really? Okay. I'm going to try to do something really, really quickly on my side again. I'm going to try to go into my camera settings and maybe change the way it's coming in. Camera hub. Yeah, I suck with technology, people. So let me just see if I can change it. I'm going to go. Oh, this is so stupid. So I changed it to USB transfer mode. It's not supposed to be on automatic. Maybe bulk will change. Okay, I might have cut out this for the stream for a second, but let me see if it's going to work now. Start camera. Let's see if this is better. Now it's dark in here. Hold on. Now I need the light. Okay, I don't know what just happened. Hold on a second. I'm stopping the camera. Hold on. All right, it's still freaking dark in here, but we're trying to figure this out on the fly a little bit. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but the one automatic went in so freaking bright, and now it's so dark. So I should be clear, but it's fucking dark as hell. All right, it's dark as hell. I apologize, guys. I'm not here. You're not here for the technical aspects of the show. We're doing it from a dark ass room. Okay. I think Rodgers learned his lesson last year. Eagle Fang, if anything. Bowers may not be on the board when the Jets are on. That's fine. Honestly, sign me up. Tell me right now, Bowers is not going to be on the board, and that's one player who can fall to us. But he's a guy to me who's overhyped by fans as well. I like him. I think he could be a good player with some development. But I thought I was going to be watching like Kyle Pitts level player the way that people were talking about him, and I don't see nearly the same type of player in terms of like, oh my god, this guy's a freaking freak. People are like, oh, Kyle Pitts this, Kyle Pitts that. One, Arthur Smith didn't use him correctly, in my opinion. And two, I think he broke like rookie receiving records his first year. So he's capable. And regardless of what he became in the NFL, he was a stud prospect. I don't see Bowers in nearly the same light as a Kyle Pitts. Okay. Perrin Winfrey, and we still need a running back. Yeah, we need a running back too. I don't understand how a camera setting going from automatic to bulk makes it dark in the room, but nonetheless, I guess automatic was trying to lighten up the room for me, but I got to figure it out. Hey Joe, hey Jets, mess. At least you're not glitching. True. Pick not looking great. Yes, I'm trying. I'm trying to rebound from that. Now it's just dark, so maybe I'm not cutting out and all that shit. But here, at least let's just at least you can see the light back there. I don't know. Maybe that's better. Whatever. I hope the Jets go back to white helmets also. Yeah. I like the white helmets as well. I would say stay gold Jets. White helmet, green, white helmet, white. I guess then it would be black and black on black for the alternate. I didn't like the green helmet they had now. I just didn't. But tackles with wrestling skills always seem to have good careers. That's why Wirf was a no-brainer. Yeah, it's having that background, like having like the redirect ability, because there's so many times as a tackle where you're off balance and you're off balance versus a guy who's 280 pounds, 300 pounds, 320 pounds. If you have the ability to like sink into your anchor, get leverage, which is a lot of what wrestling is, strong grip strength, all that stuff. It's just so many things translate from wrestling to playing offensive line, just recovery ability, sticking on blocks, things like that. So guys with prior wrestling experience, depth, and that light went out again. It's just okay. We're doing it from the dark, just straight dark right now. Straight dark. The thing I bought just fucking keeps cutting out. So that's shit. I bought a light. It's like a green light bar from whatever the freaking website was. I get it. I turn it on. It doesn't work. So I'm getting another one of those shipped to me. So hopefully that works. That light's not working now. I don't know, people. I'm trying. Bro, if Adunze ran low 4.3s, he's literally yeah. I think it's more mid 4.4s. Running a 4.3 at 6'3" is pretty ridiculous. I don't see the explosiveness. Again, he's more smooth than explosive. I think he could be a good player, a good possession guy. I don't think it's like a direct comparison because I'm just being transparent. I didn't watch like a Pittman in college, but I think he's like a Pittman type of guy. Smooth, not fast, good contested catchability, possession guy, but he's 4.3s. I don't think so. 4.4 at 6'3". Yeah, 4.4. Yeah, 4.44, 4.45. Maybe I could see like high 4.4s. I could see low. I would say anywhere between like a 4.44 and like a 4.52, maybe more mid 4.5s. But I don't. That's about where I see him at. And sometimes it's hard to predict. Again, I have to watch more of him to see that. But I don't see us passing on the big three receivers if Alt isn't available. No, because is it like Adunze is such a better prospect than Latham? No. Is Adunze such a better prospect than Fuaga? No. They're kind of all in this like a similar type of bucket, so I wouldn't say that they are locks over him. I'm sorry, I'm just a floating face right now. And I'm wearing a black shirt too, so I'm literally just a floating face, but it is what it is. Again, I apologize. Nowadays, percentage-wise, receivers are more available than tackles in the draft. If Fuaga, Frashano, or Alter off the board, I want to trade down. No, you're taking Latham at that point. Again, Latham gets a lot of hate because of the Michigan game, Kev. And I could watch, again, I'm on game 3 right now. I could watch games because I think Michigan is probably like his 12th or 13th game of the year. I could watch the next 10 games, but no, this guy just sucks. Like, I was wrong. He sucks. The first 2.5 games, they were a facade. That's not the player he really is. But based on if he is the same player during or over the first 2.5 games, over the next 12, but then he has one bad game against Michigan, you can't just say he's a bad player because of one bad game versus Michigan. So I think Latham's being overlooked right now. And again, right now, very early into it, he's my tackle 2. I'm taking him over for Sean. I'm gun to my head right now. Admittedly, not having a lot of, I don't have enough substance. Like I need more from Latham. I got to watch a lot more to solidify that because he can have a lot of shittier games. But to say, okay, those guys aren't off the board, don't take Latham. I don't think that's that. Not in my mind. Not in my mind. What's more valuable for the Jets' 2024 offense? I'll lose pass blocking or Fuaga's run blocking. Pass blocking. But I think Fashano's pass blocking is also somewhat overrated. I think that he's solid. He's solid in certain aspects of the pass game, but I think when people are talking about him, they're kind of acting like he's some absolute stud in pass pro, and that's not going to be any work in the NFL. And I completely disagree with that. I do. Okay, because I really like Latham. Lowell, glad you're on my side. Yeah. And I'm gonna watch more. But dude, he is nasty. Now, my one problem with Latham is he's not the best mover. I would say him and Becton are like I see the comparisons because they're both big. I would say Becton was more athletic in terms of like his ability to move. I would say that Latham might be a little bit stronger than Becton was. My problem with Latham is he can overset. He can get beat to the inside. You could fix that because he has the ability to move inside. Like he has that short area explosion. He has good lateral movement. You just got to teach him to not overset as much as he does. There's times where in the contact window he can get a little bit heel clicky, which you want to limit because if your heels are clicking, you're not, you're off balance basically. You want to have a better base than he has at certain times. And then one of the other aspects is he's definitely grabby at times. That is, you kind of see it in two aspects, at least so far. One, when he's beat to the inside because he oversets. And then two, he tries to finish like every single play. And he'll be a little bit off balance, driving a linebacker 10 yards back. And because the linebacker didn't go into the ground, the linebacker may try to like escape him. And then you'll see Latham get a little bit off balance, but because he wants to finish that guy so bad, he ends up like dragging him to the ground, like by his jersey and shit like that. So if you could teach him to be a little bit less aggressive overall, both in terms of trying to finish guys to the ground, and then in terms of not oversetting in terms of like aggressive in his sets, then I think you'd limit a lot of the holding penalties with him. And then another point in terms of over aggressiveness I actually want to bring up was Fuaga. Fuaga is a guy who a little bit similar to Becton in the running game just in terms of he tries to launch guys a little bit too much for me. That's something I really like about Latham, at least so far, is he stays attached to guys. He brings his hips into the block, he rolls them, and he runs the guy with really strong hand positioning. There's a lot of Fuaga trying to launch guys, and after he launches the guy's able to reset and kind of work him laterally. So I want to see him be less aggressive overall for Fuaga. Like, I like it, but turn it down 10%, 15% because he's trying to launch guys. He's ducking his head into some blocks, trying to deliver an absolute shot. But yeah, I would like the video that if the pick was good. So now it's just dark in here. So yeah, I don't get the like because of that. It's all good. We need Jets Unleashed. We need O-line more than anything. Yeah, for sure. It's just all about how free agency. How does that play out? Jets Unleashed, they had a quarterback that could take hits. Rodgers can't take that many hits. He's also going to help the offensive line in terms of protections, in terms of getting rid of the ball, etc. But no, could you go into the year like they did last year, which we all said in the offseason, going into the season with the tackles I have was a fucking joke. Like, it really was. You're relying on a injured tackle and an old injured tackle. That's fine. We're good. We're fine. I don't know. It was such a bad idea. It was really a bad idea. And that was with Rodgers and hoping we get to the Super Bowl and win it with him. Their plan was Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, rookie fourth-round tackle who was injured, and, Max Mitchell, who you didn't know, blood clots, all that shit, and struggled as a starter last year, not as a fourth-round pick, third-round pick, whatever he was. I thought he was okay. As a starter, he was bad in his rookie year. So you're relying on that to protect Aaron Rodgers. Good job. So, yeah, they need more. Salo put Bowers in the practice squad because he wouldn't like his blocking skills. Like, he's a willing blocker. He's a nasty blocker. Crack blocks, linebackers, safeties, all that stuff. Awesome. One-on-one with a D end, it's not happening. Not right now. There's no way. You actually look retro cool. You need lights. I know. I need lights. I'm sorry. I just you know what we'll do? Maybe we'll just turn on the light. There we go. Is that better? Now there's that little shine. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Fuck. I'm sorry. Darkness retreat. Yes. You know what? I might just, fuck that. Again, you guys aren't here for the technology. I'll promote my friend Ryan for that. Go to Ryan's stream. We're gonna do the shit in the dark. This is a salute to Aaron Rodgers. Would you draft Penix and sit behind Rodgers? No, absolutely not. Why are we drafting a first-round guy to sit behind Rodgers? If we don't win a Super Bowl, we got to do everything we can to win a Super Bowl. That's really all this. We got to bring back Kyle Joe's losing. I am, man. I am. Do the Jets realize that Keith Carter's reputation might hinder? I don't know if they have great self-awareness in general. Do they realize that? Probably not. Do I think it's an aspect? I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't go crazy about like overlooking him or looking too much into him. Like, they're not going to get anybody because everybody hates him. But if you have a guy who's buddies with Taylor Lewan, let's say, we don't know relationships in the NFL. Let's say that's freaking Trent Brown. There's a guy we really want. We're going after him, but he's a good friend of Taylor Lewan. He's like, okay, the Jets and the Bucks are offering me a similar contract. Obviously state taxes in Florida. That wasn't even purposefully, but kind of similar contract, similar money. But hey, the guy in Tampa, I heard he's a really nice dude, and the guy in Jersey, he's an asshole. So I'm not going to go there. It's very possible. It's possible. I wouldn't look too much into it, but it's there. Greetings from Tokyo. Oh, that's awesome. I've seen you in here before. Are you always? I think you're always in like at least Asian countries, and I think it was Tokyo last time. Maybe it's not, but. Am I able to add people to this? I am not going to do that. From what I'm hearing, take a grain of salt. This is a weak running back class. Yeah. I don't know. Dan, I can't say. I haven't watched the running backs. I haven't heard anything about the running backs. But even as a running back, if it's like a weak running back class, are you talking about the top being weak with running backs? Or are you talking about the mid rounds being weak with running backs? Are you talking about the lower rounds being weak with running backs? If you're talking about fourth or fifth round running backs, you should be able to find somebody there. Somebody there. Batman voice. Kyle Pitts, Bowers. I remember watching Derek Stingley for the draft a few years ago. Kyle Pitts was one of the few guys that got the. Yeah, dude. Kyle Pitts was dominant in college, and he was a fucking freak. Bowers is not he's not a freak. He's a good athlete. He's a willing blocker, great yak. And yak looks awesome on highlight films. It does. But in terms of getting off of press coverage, I didn't see any of it because he barely got pressed. Route running, he comes up very, very high in his breaks. His breaks are pretty rounded at this point. And then there's no contested catches there that I was impressed with. Minus, like, again, a really nice one-handed catch, which was most likely lucky. It's not something that's very replicatable, just snagging it with one hand unless you're Odell Beckham. So there's a lot of things lacking for me to say that he's some stud guy that no matter what, I'm taking him at 10 because he's a weapon. If he was Kyle Pitts, fuck it, like let's take him. But he's not that. He's not that. John says the widespread Latham skepticism that has become fashionable among draft media is wildly overstated. He's O-tackle 2, in my opinion. Fuaga O-tackle 1. Stellar. Yeah, and that's just because of the sample size, right? John. I'm not saying it's for everybody in here, but maybe I don't want to put a percentage on it, but let's say 90% of people probably haven't watched really one snap of him. Maybe in passing they did, but I'm sure that at least let's even get a little lower. But I'll give the benefit of the doubt. At least half of the people's opinion of him is because they watched one game of him versus Michigan, or even maybe they even noticed in the entire game, but because of the last play of the game he got blown up. Oh, now he sucks, right? In my opinion, that's what it is. Because watching him early on, I'm like, I like this guy, but a lot can change. A lot can change. People run with the narrative from one big game. Latham would be everyone's O-tackle 2 if he didn't play Michigan. Okay, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. After Becton, I'm so reluctant in picking another big bone tackle. Yeah, I get the hesitation there, Kev, but at the same time, I'm not going to let Becton hinder me. Now, with guys who are 6'6", 360, you have to anticipate that, or they at least have a higher risk of injury, and they probably are going to always have a harder time recovering from injury. With that being said, I'm not going to let that, like, okay, let's say, Mims is my 20th player and Latham's my 10th, but I'm concerned about Latham's like weight issues in the NFL or whatever it may be. I'm not going to let that necessarily move me off of him. Not at this point, especially because at the end of the day, you have like a year window or 2 year window. I think Latham in some aspects, especially in the run blocking, he's pretty pro ready. So let's just hope he doesn't get injured at least for 2 years. After 2 years, Rodgers is gone, probably all blown up anyway, and everything get fired, so it doesn't even matter. But yeah, I think Becton. I think what's it called? Latham is like 360, and Becton's like 375, so he's a little bit lighter than him. A little bit lighter. He's not as big. He's still huge. One thing to keep in mind with Latham's film is the developmental timeline this year. His first half of the season is inconsistent, but he displayed superb technical improvement game over game. Yeah, I'll watch every game. Every game, obviously, I'll watch. I'm 2.5 in, so even early on, I don't think he was so bad early in the year because I'm only 2 games in and I like him. So if he gets better, then awesome. That's awesome to hear if that's true. So wouldn't surprise me if Pat's picking offensive tackle to reduce the chance. No. You had Naya who already said something like they're going to be looking into the most important position in football or an important offensive position or something like that. So they're going to take a quarterback there. I doubt that. I doubt that they're going to take a tackle at 3 in hopes that lessens the chances the Jets get tackle 7 picks later. That's not going to happen. Now, did they maybe trade up in this draft and take a little bit less to hopefully screw the Jets with the Broderick Jones thing, if that was even true? Yeah, I'm sure they might have done that. But to take a guy at 3 in hopes, that's a little bit big. I think you're big braining it with that one. But you said wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I don't think you actually think that. But I severely doubt that. I think it's going to be a quarterback, and then Harrison's probably going to go, probably 4. Whoever's at 4, maybe a team trades up to 4. From what I've seen in passing, he's a stud. He's a stud. So, Rob D, the thing about Latham's Michigan game, the whole, yeah, I gotta watch again. If it's one play, okay. Don't want that Becton situation. All right. Yeah, same thing for Becton. That's why I still think Latham is lighter and wears it fine. Yeah. Like I said, I think him and Becton are similar sizes. Becton was a better mover than me for Latham, but Latham might be a little bit stronger. I also like Latham in terms of his run blocking more. Becton maybe had some more dominant reps. I don't even know, dude. Latham has some fucking really impressive run blocks, And there's sometimes he just whoops the shit out of people. And there's sometimes we're like, dude, watch the whistle because he's still like headbutting people after the rep and stuff like that, which I love. But I like Latham quite a bit early on. Good change. Hit the button. Hello, darkness, my. Yeah, I'm sorry. Again, it's like nothing I could do, right? Like I buy a Jets light that lights up different colors. I plug it in. It just doesn't work. I buy a strip light on the bottom, put it there. That doesn't work anymore. So what am I supposed to do? I don't know. Dano says, Blewett Fridays, did you get my father super chat the buzzer last week? I said, put it towards me, holding you late, and your old lady getting a shot after she pops. By the way, when she do? Wife's due in 5 days. So I'm hoping it's tonight. Like the anticipation's killing me. So I'm hoping it happens. I'm hoping it happens like ASAP. But yeah, she's due in 5 days. 5 days. Max the 31st. The 31st she gets induced. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Joe, do you ever do call-ins, audience guest? I might. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I might. It's something I'm considering, especially in the drier months. You know, January, February. Maybe I could do a thing like Ryan does. You know, hey, you have 3 minutes to make your point, whatever. And then you get dropped or something like that. I might consider it. But Wild Wave, and I probably honestly after the next couple of chats, I might just bounce unless you guys have any other questions. I'm pretty early on in the film, unless you guys want to see some other film, whatever it may be. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, JD has a history of choosing average, poor mid-round running backs. We should have had Gabe Davis or Amon-Ra St. Yeah, like obviously, I would have rather have had Gabe Davis or Amon-Ra Brown over whoever. What Michael Carter is that the draft we're talking about, right? Like 3-4 years. Yeah, I would prefer those guys. But Michael Carter wasn't a bad player in my opinion. And then he went to Arizona and he was pretty successful with relatively not relative expectations. He was relatively successful with Arizona. We kept him for a old scrub running back in Dalvin Cook. I'd much rather have Michael Carter on Izzy right now. And then you try to find your fourth, even maybe your second guy. But I'd rather have Michael Carter as a part of the squad of four than what we have now. Because again, we wanted to hold on to Dalvin Cook. And that was after watching Dalvin Cook suck ass for 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks when they released Michael Carter. So I'm not going to say he was a miss at running back because his first year he's actually pretty damn good. Second year obviously struggled, but I don't think he's necessarily a miss. And then Izzy got how many reps this year? Behind a really shitty offensive line. So I don't think we could say it's like a history of missing on running backs. Because of Michael Carter and Izzy, who's completely kind of unturned at this point. So yeah, I don't know. Like there's plenty of guys. I wish we took Tom Brady in the 6th round or 5th round, 25 years ago, whatever it was. So can Becton be fine with better? Can Becton be fixed with better footwork? Yeah, he needs. Yeah, footwork's a big part of it. But I think it's easier said than done because like 50-60% of playing tackle is footwork. So, probably my one and only because I'm in the dark right now and people hate that or not liking it because I'm in the dark. Again, I apologize. There's really nothing I could do about electricity not working on the jump, but I appreciate the super chat. Daniel Murphy put the little Blewett's first jets. He has them. No, he has them. He has them. They're all in the closet. He has. I still have these in here because I haven't taken them out yet. But I still have I still have the Jets socks that were made for me, hand stitched for me. There's plenty of Jets onesies, but another one. Okay, we'll put it towards it. But yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped up for the kid to arrive. Have you considered reviewing any of the off-the-wall candidates like Texas D? No. I can't. Because if I even review that, people are going to hate me. I don't think it's very realistic that they take a defensive tackle. At 10, if they did, that would just be beyond bad at this point. So it most likely will not happen. So I don't think there's much point of me putting my time into a guy who I see as probably like a 2% chance that the Jets draft. So my time will be dedicated to, again, the guys I mentioned before, Bowers, Latham, Fuaga, Odunze, Neighbors, Altz, Mims, I think are probably going to be That's probably what it's going to be. At the end of the day, those are the only guys I'm going to get to. And then after the draft, I'm obviously going to watch everybody and then have like full blown reports and reviews for you guys. But I'm also going to try to get some player reviews done too, because before free agency, maybe and I don't think there's anything that Will McDonald's going to do on film to impress us enough to not care about Bryce Huff leaving. Which, if you listen to some of his comments, it doesn't sound like he's like. He had opportunity maybe to praise the Jets a little bit in the last few weeks, but you listen to his interviews, he's kind of like, yeah, like I owe it to my family, I want the money. And he's always talked like that. Listening to his interviews, he's not the most enthusiastic guy, so I wouldn't necessarily look so much into it. But if I had to guess, that Huff's probably not on the team, but nonetheless, I don't think we're going to see enough from McDonald in a limited sample size to say, okay, we're comfortable getting rid of Huff. Again, I rather have Huff than JFM. So if Huff is comfortable, he wants a $17, $18 million contract, and you can get rid of JFM's, $14, $15 million. You trade him for, a mid-round pick, and then you keep Huff. I'm taking Huff over JFM because, I think you can kind of supplement the edge. You can get an edge defender for little to no money. In free agency, if you really want another guy to be able to set the edge in, let's say, short yardage situations. But you have JJ, who's good in the run game. I think Huff is at least okay in the run game. You have Michael Clemens, who, if he loses some size and he just plays strictly at the tackle, which I think he did most of the year anyway. I could be wrong on that because I didn't necessarily focus on him. But if you make him lose some weight, I think he's a fine enough edge setter. I will be a little bit concerned about the run defense because we struggled in general last year, even with JFM and JJ. In terms of run defense, but again, pass rush is king. He had 10.5 sacks this year in a season where we had little to no leads, if any leads at all, and plenty of the games were getting blown out in. Which, by the way, just like talking about the Jets and the coaching staff, like you heard some quotes like they fought, they never gave up, all this shit. It's like they got blown the fuck out versus Miami. They got blown out versus Cleveland. They got blown out versus the Bills. Like, how many games did you get blown out this year? So like, was it so close? Like, I think the players didn't give up. That Cleveland game, it looked like they gave up. Again, we had a few beverages together. At least I had beverages on stream. It looks like they gave up in that game at certain aspects, and they were making some business decisions. So, yeah. Sox fire. But yeah, with Huff, it's gonna be interesting. That's a huge talking point. So I want to review McDonald and see, should we have faith in him going forward next year? In my opinion, again, watching not necessarily passively because I watched all the reps, but I'm not laser focused on him. But he was impressive in his limited sample size this year. So watch him. Watch the guys like Tony Adams. Those are the guys who are a little bit more unknown, and then you start doing the players who are a little bit more hyped up. JJs, the Sauces, the Garrett Wilsons, the whoever's, the fucking Devils already down. Devils been sucking ass recently. Not ideal. Okay, some fun interior defensive line targets for that third round pick. Potentially Murphy is a beast, though. Daniel, you are right. He's probably going. So I'm automatically assuming, Dan, that he is a guy who is I believe he's the first overall defensive tackle, right? I could be wrong. I believe that's his name, but I know there's at least one D tackle who's going to be drafted that high, and I thought that was his name. If not, if he's like a third round guy you're talking about, maybe I'm just mistaken the name. Then maybe you look into him, but I'm pretty sure that's a guy who's like a top of the first round guy, right? Unless I'm mistaken. So if they drafted defensive tackle, I would legitimately lose my shit because you're pouring like fucking like $1 million and 3 first round draft picks into the offensive defensive line. We cannot do that too much. Captrada, as for Becton and Lakin, I don't think we can get rid of both. I'd cut Lakin post June 1st. Well, Becton is not necessarily a guy you're getting rid of because he's a free agent at this point. So it's about re-signing him. And with that being said, if you don't think we can get rid of both of them, like what is the price? Like legitimately asking, what's the price that you're willing to sign Becton for? Like what is your cap on Becton? Because if you can get him back for $3-4 million, again, I think that's, for some people, like, they might say $1 million or $2 million. Maybe he was injured. Obviously he played in 16 out of 17 games. So he was better in the beginning part of the year. I still thought he was overrated in the beginning part of the year, but I think he was probably injured and battling some type of injury later on in the season, and maybe that's why he was so bad. Would I like him to be a swing tackle? Would I like him at $3 or $4 million over Carter Warren and Max Mitchell as backups? Yeah, I would. So if you can get him to be like a backup swing tackle, I'm okay with that. But I'm not relying on him to be a starter. If you sign him, it's to be a backup. And as far as Lakin, you could cut Lakin post June 1st, or you could designate him post June 1st, I believe, where you can get like it's $10 million back, at least this season post June 1st. So can you find and even if it's 8, let's just say it's 8 to be careful, because I'm terrible with remembering contracts and stuff like that. Can you find a better guard in free agency for $8 million? In my opinion, you can, because he is well below average. Start of the season, he was okay. But midpoint of the season, end of the season, he showed that he was the same old shitty Lakin Tomlinson. He was. And people were like, oh, well, you can't blame the Jets, for the signing because he was great with the Niners. Not true. Not true. The review's out there. Watching him after with the Niners, like, this is not worth $16 million a year. Not. I thought he was like average. Maybe a little bit above average at best. But to think he was like some Pro Bowl stud with the Niners, it's just inherently false. You're going to get paternity leave. Yeah, like I don't get paternity leave necessarily, but I get like sick days, so I'm taking a month off. And in that month, I'm going to get a lot of film done. Even though I'm already getting a lot done, but that month I'm gonna get a lot of work done. Blewett in his panic room. Yeah, no, Kayuka. I bought a strip light behind me that cut out after like 3 or 4 uses. And I bought a jet sign that apparently now has a loose wire, and it'll turn on for 5 minutes and then just not work again. So shitty investment there. I might just buy the green light that lights up the entire room, and that be the end of it, because I try to get fancy and it sucks. Okay, Dan. I'm just gonna call you because I always see Daniel, and I always want to call you. I don't know. I'll just call you. I'm gonna start calling you Dan. Joe, do you think I could do a better job than Lakin at left guard? 5'8", 235. Is that? I need to know the body fat percentage for that. If it's 5'8", 235, and you got a gut, then probably not. But if you're stocky, maybe if you're nice and stocky and you're yoked and you get good leverage, definitely lacking arm length probably, but maybe. Okay, yeah, first D tackle taken. Yeah, okay, 2 D tackles. I think looking into D tackles in the third, fourth, fifth round is probably smart. I'm really hoping they sign Jefferson. You have to hope he's back in time for the start of the season, because he did have the injury, the season-ending injury pretty late into the season. So you're hoping he can come back, and maybe, it's maybe a little bit shitty to say, but like a blessing in disguise with the injury, because if he went to free agency market on 6.5, 7, 8 sacks, so I think he ended with 6.5, but he missed like the last 4 or 5 games. He's probably going to have, a good 8 sacks, let's say. You're not getting him for $3-4 million or $5 million, whatever you got him for this year. So maybe the fact he's injured actually drops his price, which, okay, that might be a blessing in disguise. I would like to see Quentin Jefferson back, but then, look into some plotting guys in the 4th, 5th round, guys who are freaking, 330, 340. Those are the type of guys that we need as reserve guys to stuff the run, because the Jets, as great as their defense was, top 5 this year, and in my opinion, however you want to quantify that, their run defense was really balls at some points. Even Texans game, we won that game. It was bad at some points. Browns game, it was pretty bad. There's a lot of games where we just got gashed on the ground. Mostert lit us up a little bit, right? So I don't know. Will Jeff Ulbrich be a good head coach? Well, in terms of the Senior Bowl, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine, but he hasn't gotten any interviews, right? Unless I didn't hear anything. But I'm pretty sure that would pop up on my timeline. So I don't think he got any interviews. But will he be? I don't know. Again, in today's NFL, I sound like an old man saying that, but looking to hire offensive guys all day over defensive guys. And, let's say that it all gets blown up next year, right? And everybody kind of stays put where they are. My 2 top coaching candidates for next year are Todd Monken and Ben Johnson. Like, those are 2 guys you go for. And Todd Monken probably been number 1, because you're looking at what he's doing with the Ravens this year. He's making, Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying he was never like a good passer. Actually, I don't think he was a good passer. I think he was okay passer and an elite run threat, which made him like a top 10 quarterback. But I think now, if you watch Ravens games, he's becoming like a legitimate passer as well with the run threat. So, Todd Monken is one of the guys who I would really, really like. But in terms of just like overall team philosophy, hiring a defensive guy, offensive is king in the NFL, just like pass rush is king. So hiring a defensive guy is sketchy, because if you bring in a good OC and he's good, he gets hired elsewhere. It's just a shitty situation. So I lean more towards hiring offensive guys. So Ulbrich will have a tougher time than some other coaches getting a head coaching job, but maybe eventually he will. Maybe he will. Newton has been this is from John again. Newton has been a consensus top defensive tackle with the top 20-ish grade, but looks like Murphy's going to pick up steam. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked into him. What about Becton for $5 million base with incentives? Yeah, I think that's a little bit too high, honestly, Kev. I think $5 million with no incentives is even maybe a little bit outside my range. Like $3-4 million, I'm okay with. I can get as high as 5 just realistically because people will take the risk on the talent and all that type of shit. But 5 with incentives, no. I'm more like, okay, give me like 3 in incentives, but 5 and incentives, I think I think we're doing too much for what Becton was. There's stats out there. I'm sure they're on Jets X Factor. The amount of penalties. He gave up about 17 sacks. He was one of the higher penalized guy in the NFL. He was just bad. He was just bad. And beginning part of the year, he wasn't as bad. He still wasn't great. And the end of the year, he really, really sucked, which maybe gives you like some thought of like, hey, it's an injury that he sustained during the year or just the wear and tear, whatever it may be. But he was one of the worst tackles in the NFL this year who was starting. So I don't think we need to go above and beyond. I think $5 million just on the 1 million 5 or 1 year $5 million should secure him, and that may even be a little bit too much. Post June 1st, we saved $13 million on Lake, and he's a goner. Is it $13 million? I thought it was only 10. I could be wrong. Let me look that up. Right, I'm not in a rush right now. Lakin Tomlinson contracts OTC. Is there? I know there's like a way to go into OTC and do cut pre June 1st. Okay, let me adjust this to post June 1st. Cut post June 1st. We save, it says cap savings 13 million, dead money 6. Oh, okay. And then 3 million cap saving and 1 million dead. I thought it was 10. I always thought it was 10, but based on this, again, unless I'm just missing something, unless there might have been some type of restructure where they added more or some bullshit I don't know about, but $13 million post June 1st, and then what is it pre? Pre it's 8 million savings, 10 dead. Yeah, cut him June. If you can't find a better guy for $13 million, like, geez, dude. So he should be as good as gone. And I know people be like, oh, the continuity. It's harder to replace 3 guys. I don't give a shit about continuity when it's not good. Becton's not going to be here. There's no continuity there, and Lakin Tomlinson's garbage. It doesn't matter. So why do continuity for sake of continuity is not? It's maybe a little bit overrated. So. 70-inch wingspan and can combine weight. You're talking about defensive tackles. Yeah, I'm not even looking into it. Monken should have been the hire last time. I like Salah, but I always prefer an offensive-minded guy instead. Yeah, I know I really liked him. I know Scott Mason from Play Like a Jet, who I think is overall not talked about enough in terms of like content creators and stuff like that. But nonetheless, one of my friends, I think he's good. He did like a breakdown on Monken. He also liked him as well. But yeah, I really like Monken. I think wasn't Monken also in the running with the Gase year? I think it was the Gase year I was looking into guys where I really, really wanted Monken. And then Monken went back to Georgia. And then we didn't think he was coming out during the Salah cycle. So I think it really was really Monken over Gase. Like we wanted Monken, and nope. Adam Gase. That broke me. I was doing TOJ then. I did a couple more podcasts, whatever it may have been. I might have even done another year, but Gase broke me. Like I took off like 6 months. I was gonna be done podcasting and done with everything. And then JetX reached out, and now obviously I'm a partial owner of JetX. So thank you to them and reigniting the flame, but it's not been good. Like think about these we've been in these uniforms for 19, 20, 21, 23, 4 years. They've been so fucking bad, like so bad. Gase year. Gase 7 and 9 or whatever year that was terrible because we won like 5 games at the end of the season, so we were like 2 and 8 or whatever it was. Then we rattled off some wins at the end. You had the mono that year, I believe, as well. You had the 2 and 14 season. You had Salah's first year, which was 4 wins. His first year, we absolutely sucked. Wherever that year was, you had. 2 years ago, I guess now, where, you start off pretty hot and then they suck terribly at the end of the year. The Lions game, the Jags game, the Seahawks game, the Dolphins game, they absolutely sucked after starting 5-2 or 6-3, whichever record you think is better and sounds better. Either one, sounds good to me. But nonetheless, 6-3, 5-2, and then you just completely shit the bed. And then this year you have Aaron Rodgers, and all that happens. Like, these jerseys need to get burned. It's been one of the worst 4-year stretches of Jets football. If not, actually, probably the worst 4-year stretch of Jets football in the Jets history. These last 4 years, it's been that bad. So yeah, let's light these jerseys on fire. But yeah, Monken should have been the hire. But no, we had Gase, and immediately when he's hired, it's especially to the Jets fan, like, you're supposed to be pessimistic, and I don't blame anybody for being pessimistic. I think it's probably the right way to go when you've seen all the shit we have, but there was no positive way to spin that. Like, we hired him, and we're already a shitty franchise, and it's like, this is going to be so bad. And it was. That was the most disheartening thing ever. Well, sorry, second most disheartening thing ever. The most disheartening thing as a Jets fan I've ever encountered was this season. 4 snaps in. That was heartbreaking. Kev says, what teams are in need of an edge like Huff and that have extra early picks? Or it's, I plenty of teams need edge rushers. Now, who exactly? I would have to look, but there's plenty of guys who need stud edge rushers because, again, he had 10.5 sacks this year. Let's say Aaron Rodgers was here and we're winning games. That 10 easily turns into at least 13, 14. Easily 13, 14, if not 15, 16. So he's a guy who, if he plays now, maybe him playing a full-time role diminishes that, and he's not as effective on a snap-by-snap basis, which is probably true. Nonetheless, he's better. He's even better as an edge rusher than he probably showed this year if you're just looking at statistics. So who exactly? Not sure. Plenty of teams need good edge rushers. Plenty. Who's the edge rusher on the Chiefs right now? The Bills don't have a stud. It was Miller, but now he's not. He's obviously not great. There's plenty of teams who could use him. The Lions, could they use a guy opposite of Aiden Hutchinson? Could the Ravens? There's like plenty of teams. Plenty. Daniel Murphy says, I hate to say it, but the tag and trades don't happen often for a reason. We'll see. And Riff could clarify this, and it was maybe a little bit short-sighted of me to say, oh, nobody's going to trade for him to make $22 million. You trade for him, and you renegotiate the contract. You don't tag and trade him to the Bucks. Let's say the Bucks are saying, okay, well, the tag is $23 million. Now it's paying $23 million over in 2024, 2025, 2026. That's not the case. So you could trade for him, and then you renegotiate and give him bonuses and all this other stuff. So it can happen. It can definitely happen. NY Jet Superfan, if we re-sign Becton, I'd be shocked. He's ass. Yeah, he had a bad season. He's been injured. He criticized their offensive line coach. I doubt it. The only thing, if you are leaning to the side of like you wanting to sign Becton, is the fact that him and Rodgers seem relatively close. So can Rodgers convince him to come back and compete for a spot? Maybe, but I'm leaning towards Becton's gone. I don't necessarily see it either. So Huff is a free agent as soon as the league year ends. He already stated he doesn't want to come back to the Jets. He didn't state that like verbatim, Harlem. He says that he wants to make the most money for his family, which I understand. Again, I know we're Jets fans, but if you were Huff, with the amount of money that gets taken out of taxes, would you want to play here? Especially if he wants to play. And on top of that, not only does in terms of the money, like the Jets might have to offer, $23 million to the Dolphins 17 to even equal up. And on top of that, he wants to play a full-time role. And with the Jets, is he going to get the chance to play a full-time role? Probably not. Probably not. So there's quite a few like stacked or chips stacked against the Jets. So I doubt it that he's back with the Jets. I probably put it at like, I don't know, like 70% chance he doesn't sign with the Jets, which hurts to say because I don't want to lose a such edge rusher. I really would like to retain him, but I'm not feeling it, which is unfortunate. But listen, if you could take that money, you tag and trade him for a second or third round pick, and you can flip that third round pick for, I don't know, a receiver. Let's say let's say the third round pick, and it's kind of hard to say like who's going to be available. A third round pick for Keenan Allen for 3 years, okay, like something like that. Again, don't take that. Like that's not exactly what I want. But if you could flip that for a guy we actually need, an offensive lineman, okay, I get it. Like we're losing something on defense, but we also need offense at the same time. We need offense more than we need Huff at this point. So if you can't figure out a way to do it, then unfortunately it is what it is, and he's gone. So that's a lot of victory donuts he can enjoy for doing nothing. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like he doesn't have a good. I don't know. He maybe self-awareness. I think he thinks that people think he's better than he is. Like maybe he doesn't know that people know he sucks. I don't know. Same thing for Whitehead. It's like the guys arguing with Nani about giving up, 7 touchdowns instead of 8 or 7 instead of 6 or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, you still have a lot of touchdowns. You missed a lot of tackles. Like, why are we arguing about 7 versus 8? Like, it was still bad. And then he's actively clicking on the articles and giving us reads to do it and like screenshotting and all this stuff. So like he's kind of humping JetX right now, which, hey, fine. It's cool. It's cool with me. Keep him down. I like Ben Johnson, but I think he's getting hired this year. Yeah. There's it seems like the coaching carousel right now is moving pretty slow at this point. It looks like Bill Belichick is not a lock with the Falcons, but it seems pretty likely that's going to happen. I think he probably is either going to trade for Fields with the Falcons, but if I had to put like money on it, they probably get Kirk Cousins, and then he's just trying to stack up those wins in the next couple of years and beat Shula and then get the hell out of there. But it looks like you're going to have Belichick as the Falcons head coach, which fine, whatever it is, but it is what it is with that. But Ben Johnson. With that being said, it does seem like the coaching carousel is going pretty slowly with people getting like not interviewed and stuff like that. So I think Ben Johnson might be a guy, or probably is a guy. I was talking about me subbing in at left guard since it can't get any worse. No, I know. I'm saying like, I need to know what the fat percentage is. If you're 6'8", or if you're 5'8", 230, if all of that's chunk, then you're pretty chunky. But if it's muscle, then maybe you can work with it. We're going 8. Oh my God, Chris. Don't do that to us. Don't do that to us. Solid never used a tight end to cut block edges to help out Becton. That and having Lakin to worry about didn't help Becton's stats just one more year. Yeah, no, like I'm not saying that he was put in the best position, Kev. I'm saying that in general, do I think $5 million incentives is going overboard for him? I do. I don't think it takes that much to sign him. I could be wrong. Maybe some team out there is like, hey, he was a first-round pick. We're going to give him $10 million. Fine, by all means. But that's a massive mistake in my opinion. I want to see reps with Uzama run blocking against a Whitehead. Both players. The thing with that be like Rob Day, like I will not dunk on players. I can't never dunk on a player. But in terms of criticism, I'll be fair in my criticism. I'll take Whitehead 10 times out of 10 on that one because Whitehead's like he's a good run defender in terms of like stacking guys and getting physical in the box, whatever it may be. Or maybe not like good in terms of stacking guys, but he's solid in the box. The problem comes with him tackling in space, and the problem comes with him in coverage. So that's not his weakness. Now we're talking about, I think the better situation, if you're talking about bad versus bad, is Uzama versus Whitehead on a dig. Like that's what we're talking about some shit. But run blocking, Whitehead has the advantage there. But let's talk about a pass coverage route. On a fade, on a dig, on a seam, on a curl. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Daniel Murphy says praying for a Chuck Clark signing. You and Buffalo have sold me on him, dude. Again, dead time of the year. Type in Blewett Blitz Clark, and if you're not a subscriber, you might get like 10 minutes of it, whatever it is. I gushed over him for a good hour. I really like Clark. He's a guy who is not going to wow you in any aspect, but he's super, super solid in so many aspects. I legitimately enjoy watching him play. I was like really excited about him, like really, really excited about him. Unfortunately, he tore his shit. But if your safety room next year is, again, Chuck Clark, Ashton Davis, hopefully you re-sign him to be like a third guy. You bring back Tony Adams, and then you bring in like a familiar face to Salah as a fourth guy. Awesome. I would have preferred to be Trey Dean. Unfortunately, he got signed by the Chiefs, I believe. So he's not here anymore. But it's not the worst safety room in the world. I think Adams was below average this year, but considering it was his first year starting in the NFL, below average is not the worst case, or it's not the worst case scenario. And then past that, Clark is a better player than Whitehead 10 times out of 10. I don't think it's close. I really don't. Whitehead might hit harder. I don't care. Clark is the much more technical sound and smart player to me. So Chuck Clark for $4, $5, $6 million over Whitehead's $7, $8, $9 million, whatever it is. Again, 10 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10. By the way, I asked Wayne Corbett if he got tempted to coach seeing Adam Gase, seeing Aaron Glenn succeed. He said no, but yeah, I would be interested to see that. I'm not going to say either way if it would work out or not. I don't think every single player who ever played makes a good coach. Coaching and playing are two completely different things. breaking down film and coaching are two different things. Scouting and analytics, like it's just they're different. Just because you're a good player does not make you a good coach. We've seen that over history. So let's see. Winkerbet wondered how he and past Jets heroes would fare coaching a team. I'm going, and he's part of our website, so I'm going to say great. But if you bring in all players from the past and they coach a team, probably not well. I think it's easier said than done. Nonetheless, we're about 2 hours deep. We're about an hour and 38 minutes deep. No other chats. Again, a little bit slower over time, and I'm solo, so I kind of talk a lot to myself. But I'll get to this, and I guess I'll bounce after 2 more questions. But I'm going to bounce in a second, just because I've been talking to myself for an hour and 40 minutes in the dark, and there's not a ton to continue to talk about if there's no chats. But Joe, do you have any strong preference for Visa quarterback? Gardner Minshew, the guy who I would like, but how much does he get? Does he outprice himself a little bit because he had a decent year with the Colts? Jacoby Brissett, I think he could be like a low-tier starter for somebody. So he may be a guy who you could look at, but he might outprice himself as well. Ryan Tannehill is another guy who you may look at, might outprice himself. Now, like the third-tier options, I don't really have a ton off my – let's see who the free agent quarterbacks are. Free agent QBs 2024. Honestly, even like an Andy Dalton. Like an Andy Dalton is somebody I would not hate having as a – oh, my God. Hold on. How do you – that was not the website I wanted. Spock Track was not helping me out there. Quarterbacks? Let's see. Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston. I don't know if that's a great fit, honestly, Jameis Winston. Is there like a website I can go to with the top like free agent quarterbacks? I'm not seeing a good website for this. Spot Track is kind of like letting me do it, but it's not the most like user friendly in terms of just like reading it. Okay, Kirk Cousins, is he just a straight free agent? They don't have to trade for him then. Okay, sorry. So this is a good site for it. I'm just an idiot. And by the way, the Falcons don't have to trade for Kirk Cousins, but Tannehill probably outprices himself. Jacoby Brissett probably outprices himself realistically. Tyrod Taylor, I'm down. Gardner Minshew might be a little bit outside the range, but I'm down. Teddy Bridgewater, I'm down. Josh Dobbs, in for it. So, yeah, I would say like Gardner Minshew, probably like the upper tier, and then past that, Tyrod, Teddy Bridgewater, so something like that. I don't think you need a stud, but you need a guy who's going to come in and not be Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian. Like you need a guy who's at least okay. But Jesus, like some of their options, again, there's just so many mistakes they made. A tackle at receiver, backup quarterback being Tim Boyle for 10 weeks or whatever it was, 12 weeks that he was the backup quarterback is just an absolute joke. It really is. So Rob D says Ashton Davis has really improved. Not saying he's a stud, but from where he was, yeah, for sure. And he was a guy who coming out of Cal, he was super raw. Everybody's, development track is not linear. Some guys it takes a year or two. Andrew Thomas was a guy who I doubted a little bit coming out of college. His first year, he was not very good, but then he cleaned up some stuff and he's a good player year 2, 3, 4. He's a stud now. Ashton Davis was a guy who was extremely raw coming out of Cal. So I personally never expected it in year 2 or 3 or year 2 or 3. It might be year 4 or 5 that he hits. And this is year 4 for him, and he seemed to have hit at least as a solid like backup level player. So, favorite player on their current roster. It's kind of like a bailout because they're two guys who are they're literally the 2 best players for the Jets, but they're 2 guys who I personally attested for in the draft. Sauce, if you've been here since that time, I was early on in that one. Like he was my second best player in the draft. It was Hutchinson then him. I knew Hutchinson was going to go, so I was campaigning for Sauce probably from like January, maybe even like December on. And then Quinton Williams is a guy who I had to defend a lot because people wanted Josh Allen, people wanted whoever else in that draft, and I thought Q was an absolute stud with Alabama, and I really freaking wanted him. And that's not something that was out of the it's not like saying like, oh my God, I pat myself on the back for saying Q was a stud because everybody knew he was a stud, but there were certain people who were like, oh, Josh Allen over him, oh, Ed Oliver. He's not worth the 3rd pick. I believe we're the 3rd pick. So he's a guy who I really, really talked about highly. So he comes in and he backs up your claims that he's a stud. He's probably the top 5 D tackle in the league. makes you like him a little bit more. Sauce backing me up. I like him a little bit more. In terms of guys who are maybe like a little bit more under the radar, I don't know. I don't really like a lot of under the radar guys. Guys like Conklin. I think Conklin's probably an underrated guy in terms of like my compared to I think the general fan level. I would say I like Conklin more than people do. Past that, Quentin Jefferson, when he came with the Jets, I liked him more, but now people like him because he's good. But yeah. How is your ex-sidekick? Is he coming back? I told him, I was talking the other day, I was talking about we're talking about something. I basically said I either ride with Kyle or I ride solo. So I'm going to keep tempting him. I'm going to keep throwing out little things in there. Maybe I'm just going to send him an invite to the show every week and then see if one time he just pops on. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he does. Kyle did. No, Kyle gave up. Kyle said, "Fuck the Jets." I think Teddy is retiring. Is he? Is that set in stone? World takes. Okay. Give me Tyrod. Give me Gardner Minshew. Then one of those guys, something like that. How about trading for Browns, Dorian Thompson Robinson since they have Flacco as QB2? How was he the rest of the year though? How did he play? Let's see. Dorian Thompson Robinson. And this was a rookie year, right? Thompson Robinson. How did he do? Because he got his chance, right, with the Browns. I know he was good in preseason with them. And then past that, I didn't really hear much about him. I know he had maybe a shot or two to start. But then he didn't. He played in 8 games. Okay, how did he do? Genuinely do not know. He played 19 for 36, 121 yards, 3 picks against Baltimore. So he only really played in 3 games, where he actually had legitimate snaps. So he went 60 for 112, so 53% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, 51 quarterback rating. The guy I want to trade for? No, again, give me Tyrod over him. Now, if you're talking about developmental type of guy, sure, but if I were relying on Dorian Thompson Robinson to be the backup in a Super Bowl or bust type of year, I'm not. Not based on those stats. Again, while also acknowledging stats are very shallow. He could have been very impressive in this game, maybe, but based on the stats, no. It's not like he balled out and got injured or something like that. So the solo shows are good. We do love Kyle, though. Yeah, no, I miss Kyle. It's fun to be able to bounce things off of him and take a sip of water and maybe be able to close my camera down and then fix my lights and shit like that. It's kind of hard to do it when you're solo, but nonetheless, in general, yeah, I definitely miss Kyle in here. Sabotage your video feed. No, it's not in my video feed. The camera's actually clear and stuff. It's just the lights went out. I think I figured out the graininess, but now the lights are out. I'm gonna try to plug in this light one more time, just for the last 2 minutes. I'm just gonna keep it on green. Just keep it on green. Maybe flashing different colors is what's screwing that light up. Let's see. I'm gonna see if it stays on for all of 4 seconds because that's been going out now too. Even though I gotta hang it up on the wall, I just gotta figure out a spot that I definitely want it. So, where is the Sherwood project at this point? I would say kind of where it was last year. I don't think he necessarily proved a lot this year in terms of either negative or positive. I think he kind of stood steady. I think he's a guy who is at this point, a decent backup. Do I think that he's going to be? Do I think at this point you just get rid of Mosley and you're confident in Sherwood stepping in and being a solid linebacker? I'm not going to go there. Do I think that with a couple more years of development he could be a starting level linebacker? I do, but I'm not going to say that he should be a starter or anything like that at this point. But still better than Zach. Yeah, still better than. Yeah, maybe. I bet Kyle secretly watches. I don't. Kyle may watch the shows. I don't think it would be a secret. It's not like Kyle didn't he watched the film shows and stuff. So I'm sure if he doesn't have time to watch the film shows, he might want to watch the streams just to kind of get a feel for what I'm saying. So I still know that he trusts my opinion and stuff. So I know he'll still probably watch the film shows. I'll still send them to him. Which actually I sent him film shows and he thanked me for it. So I think he still does watch. Maybe not the streams. The film stuff probably. But yeah, we're gonna slowly. We're going to work him back here. Right? It's gonna happen. Kyle was good for pontificating and calling out for super chats. All right. Okay. I'm gonna get out of here. And now, of course, that I'm gonna get out of here. The light is currently working. It's probably gonna turn off as soon as I turn around or whatever. But I appreciate you guys. Almost 2 hours in. I'll be back next week, probably, maybe. We'll see. Kids due in 5 days, so I actually don't know if I'll be back next week. Maybe 2 weeks. Nonetheless, I'll have more updates about Adunze, more updates about Fuaga, more about Latham. By that point, I'll probably have watched Mims a little bit, maybe Neighbors, maybe Alt as well. So I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you next time.